Welcome to today's senior speeches. Our first speaker today is Ellie Ruppe. Ellie will be introduced by her brother, Joseph Ruppe.
Good morning. I've been told that I'm here to introduce my sister, Ellie. You may know her as a friend, a confidant, or just a hooligan, but I know her as a few other things. To me, she's the girl that earned the nickname from our grandfather, Miss Trouble. She's the girl that poked her friend with a plastic knife for cutting her in the lunch line. She's the girl that framed someone for making a mess in the classroom and paid the other kindergartners hush money. She's the girl that got caught driving my car around the parking lots of Boyce College and stopped by campus police at 13 years old. Looking past these slight mishaps, she's also the girl that rescued a robin from our cat, putting Neosporin on it and affectionately naming it Wilbird. She's the girl that hid my contraband from our parents when I first moved into college. Sorry, Mom. She's the person that I know will always have my back, a person that I'm proud to call my sister. With that, here's her speech.
Oh God. I used to think it was unacceptable to be bad at something. Then I joined the Amazon soccer team. Some of you may have watched me trip and fall, failing to connect a pass as a forward, or completely miss one of Taylor's great shots as an outside mid. Despite my best efforts, over the last 2 years, I couldn't for the life of me become good at soccer. Worse, because I happened to be so bad, I would spend a lot of time sitting on the bench throughout my 2 seasons. I felt like I was wasting time that I could have been otherwise spending accomplishing something I could do a good job at. Initially, I resented the bench as I was forced to sit and watch others score goals and make great passes without being able to contribute or celebrate on the field. I felt like at each game, I was reminded that I wasn't good enough by being forced to sit on the bench and do nothing at all. However, I decided to come back this year because I valued my teammates and wanted to prove to myself that there can be good in anything. One game, while sitting on the bench, I found myself consumed by thoughts of the essays I hadn't finished and the Spanish poems I couldn't seem to understand. In this thought spiral, I was able to change my perspective of sitting on the bench by thinking of it as a time to take a break, since I knew I didn't have a choice but to sit and do nothing. I realized that if I couldn't accomplish something in that moment, being stressed about it only made that time worse. Since I couldn't work on applications during a game or obsessively write and rewrite notes for a concept I didn't understand, I decided instead to give my attention to the players on the field and my friends on the bench. My choice to let some of my stress go ended up allowing me to foster new friendships, understand soccer better by actually watching it, and consequently helped me manage my stress since I was spending less time thinking about everything I hadn't done yet. During that game, I discovered the value of taking a break and acknowledged the mindfulness might actually be worth something. After that moment, I developed the habit of using the bench as a scheduled break from the stress I usually face. I found good not only in my calm time on the bench, but also in the connections I was able to form once I stopped obsessing over everything I wasn't doing. Once I came to accept that the bench could be an intentionally peaceful place, I developed a greater ability to connect with my surroundings and engage with my team unlike I had before. At Collegiate, it's easy to get trapped in a pattern of stress and endless commitments. I know from personal experience that a lot of students feel like they have to be the best if they're going to do something. I also know that within the busy day-to-day lives that most of you live, it's hard to feel like you can make taking a break a priority. Personally, it took me 18 years to realize that I needed breaks, and being pretty bad at something to help me justify taking one. While I still enthusiastically commit myself to more than I can realistically handle, I've discovered the value in taking a break and understand that I don't have to be good at everything I do. Throughout my 2 years on the team, while I never did become great at soccer, I learned that it's okay to allow something to be fun instead of always striving to be the best. After overcoming my initial reservations that I was being unproductive or wasting time, I recognized that time spent doing nothing could be more valuable than time spent stressing about doing everything. For everyone listening who doubts their ability to perform as well as someone else, questions their place on a team, or wonders if they're good enough to continue doing something they love, I've learned from experience that being good at something isn't the right reason to do it. Although Travis doesn't know, he taught me an extremely valuable lesson by keeping me on the bench for the majority of my time on his team. As my last season as a soccer zon came to a close, I was able to look forward to games where I would sit on the bench with new friends and stop thinking about everything else for a little while. For every person in this room who feels like they're bad at something or doesn't allow themselves to truly take a break, understand that I've been there. But also, please understand that how good you are at something doesn't define you, no matter how much you might think it does. Please understand that it's not only okay to take a break, but actually makes life better once you understand how to separate yourself from the things that cause you stress. Lastly, please understand, even if you are as bad at your thing as I am at soccer, it can still be worth doing if you find a reason for it to be. Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Julian Veliquette. Julian will be introduced by his father, Roger Veliquette.
Good morning. Have you ever seen a little kid when they're running swing their arm around in a circle? Like laughing the whole time while they're running? Well, that was Julian. And I think that actually says something about who he is today. I really like being Julian's dad. I'm proud of who he is, and I'm actually really excited to be part of the journey that he's on toward the person that he's becoming. So one story, this is recent. A week ago, Julian was doing a workout with a heavy sled, and he's got to push the sled like 10 to 15 yards at a time. And I don't know how many of you have done workouts with heavy sleds. I'm sure at least a few of you have tried that. Usually when someone stops pushing a heavy sled, the sled stops. When Julian was pushing it last week, when he would let go, the sled continued to slide. Now that's tough. It's tough to do one time, but he kept doing it over and over and over again. So here's the thing. That workout wasn't being recorded. There wasn't a result from that workout that was going to be posted onto Mile Split. It wasn't a math grade that was going to be recorded in the grade book or a paper for Miss O'Brien that was going to get a score on, right? There wasn't a college admissions counselor who saw it or a college coach who saw it. He did it because he loves it, even though it was tough. And that's the point, is that for Julian, there is the joy just in the process. So whether it's robotics, rock band, track, Julian throws himself into things in a way that I think is rare for the people that I have known in my life. So that isn't to say that it's easy to do that. It's just one of the reasons why I love Julian. And so without any further ado, I give to you Julian Veliquette.
Every person in this room has a different picture of who I am as a person. Some think I'm quiet, others think I'm obnoxiously loud. Some think I'm annoying, and some think all I think about is track. To be completely honest, this has never sat well with me. I have a picture that I want everyone to see. I wanted everyone to see all the hard work I put into track in school. I started running track in 8th grade, pretty late compared to many of my club teammates who started in kindergarten. However, something I noticed off the bat was how different track was from any other sport I've played. Wow. I've played a lot of sports: soccer, track, baseball, basketball, took some tennis lessons, and lacrosse. I had a really great time, but the two sports that lasted were track and soccer. I couldn't quite tell you what it was that made me stick with soccer, but I know what it was that made me stick with track. Track held me super accountable for my training. I would set goals for myself at the start of the season in many of my sports, but those are really hard to keep track of. When you are running, it's pretty hard to miss what the clock says after a rep or a race. So I set goals, lots of them. I set goals like running a sub 15 and 110 hurdles, a 50-second 400, a 60-meter throw and javelin, and winning Junior Olympics. I trained hard, 2 practices on lots of days. I was on a diet I made for myself. I was doing all of these little things just so that I could reach my goals. In the end, I didn't end up reaching those goals. The thing that upset me the most was the fact that the only thing the people around me saw was my results. 0.3 off 15 seconds in hurdles, 2.5 seconds off my 400 goal time, and a whopping 15 meters off my gold javelin distance, placing only 17th at Junior Olympics. This was tough for me. I felt like I was being judged without them knowing the 652 hours I had spent training that year for those results. The worst part came soon after. I was asked the question by classmates, teammates, and even a few coaches, "Are you on steroids?" Now that question may seem innocent at first. To many this may seem like a compliment, but not for me. It makes me feel like they think I took shortcuts to get where I am. It disregards all 652 hours I spent that year working, and that's not even counting the well over 4,000 hours of work I've put into training over the years. So obviously, I was pretty upset. My hard work has even felt unnoticed in the recruiting process. I know javelin is a bit unknown to most in the room, so here's a quick backstory. The javelin event consists of someone throwing an 8-foot long and roughly 1.7 pound metal spear as far as they can. Injuries are far too common. Throwers tear shoulder ligaments, break ribs, break fingers, break elbows, and so many more other injuries. Not to mention the occasional spearing of a spectator or meet official. As a result of the high injury rate in this event, college coaches simply don't recruit high school javelin throwers. They would rather train someone new than risk it on some hot shot from high school who is most likely bound for an injury at any moment. I spent hours on keeping myself healthy and building up my shoulder to prevent injury. The college coaches didn't know that. Many don't respond to my email even though my sophomore year mark would already place top 8 in their Division I conference. For some odd reason, it felt like it clicked overnight. Why did it matter that not everyone knew about this work? I wish I could remember when this realization came to me, but it just did. Who was all this work for in the end? It wasn't to impress some coaches. It wasn't to be able to brag about results or times. In the end, it was for myself. Running track makes me genuinely happy. It provides an outlet. After a tough day of school, I can put on the headphones and lift some weights, or run that stupidly hard Monday workout that hurts so bad it makes everything else seem easy. It provides me with a way to connect. My friends on my club and the school team are some of the best friends I've ever made. It's kind of hard not to bond after all 4 members of your Junior Olympic 4x4 team are all puking in the trash while celebrating a top 25 finish and a 3-second PR. It's tough not to feel proud of yourself and your teammates when you place second at state and get 4 state champions, 2 state runner-ups, and a total of 9 podiums all at the state meet. It's easy to forget why you are doing what you're doing. To put it simply, I love running track. Many think I'm crazy for it. How can I be so passionate about something that makes me feel so bad? Why do I voluntarily do harder workouts knowing full well how it's bound to make me feel? I'm a bit of a crazy person for it, honestly, but in the end, it's so rewarding. When I was coming up with ideas for what to write about, I had so many different ideas. I remember my freshman and sophomore years, I wanted to come up with the coolest speech ever and make myself seem like the best person to be friends with. Last year, I had the idea to write about why everyone in this room should join the track team. I never knew I would be writing about something that has bothered me and would make me feel vulnerable. I ended up writing about this because it was a way for me to deal with and sort all of those emotions. That's part of what I think these senior speeches are all about. It gives the seniors another opportunity to grow and figure out who they are, and it also gives them a chance to share with everyone what they learned. I know it's super cliche hearing someone say enjoy the journey or something like that, but in the end, that tends to be something people have to experience for themselves. However, if there was one thing any of you took away from my speech, it would be to just keep working. It's super annoying when you don't feel respected or appreciated. No one enjoys that feeling. You just have to remind yourself who this was all actually for. You didn't wake up early 3 days a week to put in more work just to impress some college coach. You didn't do that injury prevention to get recruited. You were doing it because it's what you love to do and what you want to continue doing. You are doing it because it makes you feel confident and good about yourself. I wake up every morning with the goal of being better than yesterday, and I hope you can too. You also might be inspiring others. Earlier this week, I was running outside with the team, and a lower schooler came up after a rep and said, "Wow, you guys are fast." I asked him if he wanted to come and race, and he said yes. After we raced, he asked us to teach him how to be more flexible and get faster because it would make him happy. Yesterday, he came up again and said he'd been practicing his stretches and was way faster than Monday. Be like the little kid. Work hard at what you love and good things will come. Thank you.
Our third speaker today is Crew Hartlage. Crew will be introduced by Ms. Perez.
Good morning. Last year, Crew and Josh R. came into my office to ask me for 5 adjectives to describe each of them. Admittedly, I can't remember a single one I used that day. But I do know, if you asked me now, Crew, I would say you are bright, inquisitive, driven, friendly, and above all, funny. Truly, when speaking about Crew Hartlage, it seems only appropriate to share stories of times he has made me laugh. Whether running into my office with a new idea to share, which usually involves banging on my door when I'm in the middle of a meeting, emphatically working to persuade me to side with him on an argument between him and one of his friends. It could be big, it could be small, it's usually right in front of them, despite their protestations. Or getting really, really, really excited about planes. Crew can always be counted upon for a laugh. But if I had to choose just one adjective, Crew is nothing if not tenacious, relentless, really, in pursuit of the things he wants, in developing the values he holds, and in support of the people he loves. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to see him grow these past couple of years, and I look forward to seeing all the ways he will continue to become the person he most wants to be. Crew, you and Josh walked into my office one more time last year to tell me that you might ask me to introduce you this morning. You said you or Mr. Cherry. I'm absolutely honored to stand here in support of you and in front of you all today. I offer an even bigger thank you to Thomas Cherry, who said no when Crew asked him first, so that I could give my very first senior speech intro. I hope I did you both proud, and I know you, Crew, will do us proud. Friends and family, I give you my friend, Crew Alexander Hartlage.
Good morning. Over this past week, I've sat on my computer knowing what I want to share today, but not knowing how. I sat running through dozens of ideas on how to write just the first sentence. I did so not because I am scared of public speaking or care what you all think, but rather because I felt an immense pressure to succeed. I felt pressured to write the best speech I could and for my speech to be memorable. This tends to be a very common theme in my life, where I set very high expectations for myself and set lofty goals which cause me to immediately hold myself to the standard which will allow me to achieve these goals. Because I set my goals so high, my failures are that much more frequent and brutal. This internal pressure is compounded by external pressure, which comes from those closest to me. My family is full of people who have found success in some area of life. So, despite my parents hoping otherwise, This puts a great deal of pressure on me to join them and become a successful person. I also feel pressured by my friends to be a good person and a good athlete. I put myself in a position where my achievements put a lot of pressure on me. In my brain, I feel that when I perform below the standard of my achievements, I am being judged by my friends or teammates. Everyone deals with internal and external pressure in some way, and there are ways that we can deal with pressure and use it to our advantage. Now, I will never tell anyone that pressure is a bad thing. In physics, pressure is some force over an area. When the force is too great for an object to withstand, the object crumbles. However, pressure over a given time can mold and compact objects into becoming stronger and more well-rounded. I've been subject to both versions of pressure, and I believe that both are necessary. Pressure is a vital part of growth. Without holding yourself to a high standard, you cannot fail because you have no benchmark for success. Without failure, there is no way to learn from your mistakes. Without knowing what you did wrong, you will enter an endless cycle of failing over and over again. We all deal with some form of pressure, but what differentiates people is how they deal with it. This school year, the amount of pressure I have placed on myself is at an all-time high. However, I have been able to withstand it. Why? Because every year prior, I have been broken by pressure and I have molded myself to withstand it. If you've known me for long enough, you've most likely seen me break. Whether it was me throwing a pencil at Josh or you hit a Panega on me, I'm sure most of you have heard a story. It happens, and unlike a lot of people, when I break, I snap into a million different pieces. Put simply, this is what holds me back when I'm working towards a goal. My reaction to an excess of pressure is likely more extreme than most people's, but that just means that everyone deals with pressure in different ways. I have just had to learn to deal with a much greater emotional reaction than most people. My reactions being more intense than normal means I've had to develop strategies to deal with an overload of emotions. Some of these strategies I've learned from working with a sports psychologist and others that come from my own experience. So here are some ways that we can learn to withstand pressure. First, learn how to breathe. We all attend a very high academic school that sets even higher standards. Often these standards can have us feeling like we are sprinting without knowing when we will be able to catch our breath. You have to be able to take a break sometimes so that you don't get mentally and physically drained. I always try to play golf when I need a reset. Despite it still being a physical activity, it gets my brain off soccer and school and allows me to catch my breath. In a more literal sense, learning how to effectively breathe can relax your brain and reset your actual body. So pay attention to your well-being co-edges. Learning how to breathe has helped me tremendously to deal with pressure because it keeps my mind clear and calm. Dealing with pressure is a constant mental battle, and learning how to breathe is only one weapon. Probably my favorite technique is to keep a super high amount of confidence. If we can approach tasks with nothing but confidence, then there's no place for doubt or fear to hold us back. This confidence will most of the time not come naturally. Instead, you have to sometimes fake it till you make it. Trick yourself into having an abundance of confidence by thinking to yourself, I am going to be the best. This will lead to success because it forces you to truly believe in yourself, it sets a goal, and keeps negative emotions out of the way. The problem with this comes when the abundance of confidence that you've built up begins to seep out. It is one thing to create a facade of confidence and another to flaunt it. The moment you begin to flaunt it is when people begin to pull away from you and you will become isolated. This isolation is how emotions like fear and doubt get back into your mind, and they will hold you back. Finally, be real and understanding with yourself. It is important when taking on difficult tasks or when you make a mistake that you do not immediately fault yourself. Give yourself some grace and understand that everyone makes mistakes. I used to always assume that every goal I conceded was my fault, which would often produce a reaction out of me. It wasn't until I learned to give myself some grace and not jump to conclusions that I was able to keep a clear head and shift my mentality from that it was my fault to how can I make the save next time. Treat yourself the same way you would treat a friend. Understand that you will make mistakes and forgive yourself for it. So dealing with pressure is undoubtedly one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn, and it's something that everyone has to learn how to do. I was just gifted with the inability for my brain to naturally navigate high pressure situations. Because of that, I've had to learn and condition my brain so that I can reach my goals. I've had to learn how to breathe how to be confident, and how to give myself some grace. These tools have allowed me to be in the exact position today that I wanted to be in a year ago. Now that I can handle the pressure, I've learned to enjoy it and embrace it because I know that it will mold me into the person I want to be a year from today. Pressure will break you, but it will also mold you. So when you break, breathe, have some confidence, and give yourself some grace. Embrace the pressure because it will take you further than you think possible. Thank you.